Brakatia Hawo, Brakatia Washai, Brakatia Hawo, Brakatia Washai, Brakatia Hawo, Brakatia Hawo, Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Chakodash, the belongs to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone Drew well. Salutations to the hopefully like that there, you Akim to Sadakim that do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. On the priest Shimon, this week's topic, we're going to be talking about things intensifying in the east, namely over there in the Persian Gulf. The United States has sent two what do they call again? Two naval aircraft carriers over there to blockade the Straits of Hormuz after peace talks in Pakistan fell apart. J.D. Vance, announced that look, no deal could be reached. No deal will be reached. I remember a brother had asked me before Trump released the information. He said, what's your take? What's going to happen with that whole deadline thing? I said, more than likely it will be postponed. And the reason I said that to the spirit is just because what both sides wanted, right? Iranians 10-point plan and Israel/United States 14-point agreement. There's going to be a stalemate. So sure enough, it was postponed. And really, it was postponed because Israel needed a ceasefire. They're getting their ass kicked, you know what I'm saying? So they're going to use the time to recoup forces or what have you. But another take I've been saying, if you've been watching these lessons, is also that I don't see this thing coming to an end soon for that specific reason, right? What both sides want. Iran is not Iraq, okay? You can't, though you say, oh, we're gonna do a large-scale invasion. Logistically speaking, that'll be very, very difficult. And it's one thing to go into that region, which is very, mountain terrain. You have a 90 million. Another thing too is like I said, United States is going right now against the IRGC. That's not the Iranian army. You do a large-scale invasion in Iran, you try to march into Tehran, now you're going to have the Iranian army involved. Okay? So, and this whole thing about taking the Strait and taking Karg Island, even if you take Karg Island, you're going to be sitting ducks, okay? Because you have to maintain Karg Island. So, it's, people are turning their back on Trump, so-called, because he ran on no wars. He used to get off Barack Obama for not being able to negotiate a deal. So in 2005, when he was walked into the UFC arena, he was getting cheered because everybody thought it was going to be like his first term, where gas was cheap, stock market was up, shit was lit. You know what I'm saying? But so far, what hurt his so-called presidency is going into this war with Iran. Not only going to this war with Iran, everybody's saying, look, you're just being Netanyahu's bitch, pretty much. All right? This is the book of Matthew, chapter 12, verse 26. It says, and if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself, right? Because a lot of these so-called Edomites are going against Edomites of the so-called Republican Party, of the MAGA movement. Now they're saying MAGA is dead. Nick Fuentes said MAGA is dead. It's America first. Other people said America only. The sentiment is no one wants to send their kids over to the Middle East to die for Israel. You know what I'm saying? The state of Israel. And they're getting, them so-called Jews are getting a lot of hate, man. All right? Namely the ones over there in Israel. Because even Amalekites here, the biblical nationality, the Hasidic ones, they're not with, they call the so-called Jew in the land of Israel fake Jews. They say those aren't real Jews. So no one, a lot of so-called Jews is not even with the Likud party is with. So there's a lot of division there, and that's the Most High. He's divided against himself. How shall he then, how shall then his kingdom stand? Right, so this thing ain't gonna stand, man. All right, everybody's turning on Trump. Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, even Alex Jones, his biggest alternative media supporter, turned on him after Trump posted that thing on True Social, pretty much getting at all of them. He slammed the alternative media when the alternative media, your Joe Rogans or what have you, really supported him to get him those votes, to get him the popularity and get him in office, so-called, right? So, yeah, right now, he's pretty much lost a lot of his base. You know what I'm saying? Even the Hodge twins. right? They were like, damn, you know, this whole thing with Israel and bombing them kids and shit like that, people ain't with it. You know, even this draft that they're proclaiming, people don't want to go to war. You know, it's not like, again, we're living in different times. It's not like 9/11 where you could stage a false flag event and rally people's emotions to get them into a war that they don't even know what they're truly fighting. Now, with social media, information is very powerful. And Iran has launched a beautiful counter-information war against the United States. All right, these Lego videos they're putting together. All right, they're putting together videos of the Native Americans and all these different so-called Ammonites that was bombed in Hiroshima. Just all the atrocities that the so-called United States have done. Okay, and the way that their propaganda arm is portraying it is, this is not just for Iran. This is for everybody. This is for all the people that were sodomized during the Epstein thing. So it's a war not just of just outright military, all right, but also information. You see, and the so-called white man, namely the United States, stretching its arms all over the world affairs. Other nations are starting to get pissed off with that, man. Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 5 says, yea, also because he transgressed by one. What's his one? His democracy. Okay, the so-called LGBT alphabet community, all this wicked bullshit, all right, feminism, all this wickedness deviating from the scriptures that the so-called white man made law pursuant to the book of Isaiah 10:1 is not just grievous amongst Jake right now, it's grievous amongst the world. All right, you think these nations are happy with their women being out of order and shit? Let's looking joining OnlyFans and stuff, seeing what they see on the West. By the way, that OnlyFans CEO nigga dropped dead. Fucking cracker dropped dead at 43. Okay, drug overdose. All right. It says, yea, also because he transgressed by wine, he's a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire as hell, and is as death, enlarges his desire as hell. Okay, what are you doing over there in the middle? That has nothing to do with you. But guess what? Them small hats, they like spread it like a virus over there in that region. Okay, from taking certain parts of Palestine, all right, after the whole Nazi situation, World War II. By the way, World War II, the Nazism and Zionism is two sides of the same coin. Okay, because like, let's think about it, right? Nazism wanted the Jews out of Europe and into a different land. Zionism wanted the Jews out of Europe and into the Holy Land. You see what I'm saying? So that, in accommodation with the Balfour Declaration, had them over there, and now they've just been expanding over there. Okay, taking so-called Palestinians' land. By the way, Palestine goes back to Philistines. Those people over there are not the people of the Lord. All right, that land does not belong to the so-called Palestinians. That land does not belong to the so-called Jews. That land belongs to the Israelites, Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Those are the true people of the Lord. Hell, Abdul Ganesha said what in 1952? There'll never be peace in the Middle East because the Jews left black and came back white. See what I'm saying? So the real people of the Lord are not over there, and we're not going to be over there till the Lord puts us back over there. All right? After that place is destroyed, pursuant to the book of Ezekiel, the 38th chapter. All right? America and Israel is going to be destroyed. The only difference between the two is the land of Israel is going to be built back up by our slaves. It says, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. So this is the characteristics of the so-called white man, all right, and the so-called Jew, all right, to conquer and spread their philosophy all across the world, all right. Westernization is no different than Hellenization. Okay, by the way, Hellen is how you say Greek in Greek. So when the Greek were going around and forcing all their different philosophies upon people and that they conquered, all right, it's the same thing now in the West. If you don't have a Western mindset of things, you're seeing as some sort of barbarian. Okay, your thinking system is archaic. You know, Iran, in 1979, when they did the Iranian Revolution, they went back to the old ways, man. They went back to their holy books. Okay, but what the West say? Nah, women should not be covered up and shit like that. You see what I'm saying? So they's thinking like, if you going by those ways are dated, they're archaic. That shit ain't right. You know, but nations are pissed off with the modern westernized ways, because look what it leads to. Verse 6. Shall not all these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him and say, woe to him that increases that which is not his? So you over there right now putting a blockade on the Strait of Hormuz. And by the way, a lot of those oil, so basically, the United States is saying, look, if you paid that $2 million toll that Iran has on the ship, then they're gonna board your ship. And a lot of those ships are Chinese ships, okay? Which, hey man, the speculation is a lot of those ships are carrying weapons that, you know, the Chinese are using to help the Iranians out, so-called Iranians out. So what's to stop someone from saying the moment those helicopters drop those ropes to try to board one of these planes, they don't get hit with a rocket, okay, which caused things to escalate even further. So as of 10 a.m. today's April 12th, and Trump is not bullshitting with this one. You know, I know they have that taco meme. Taco is the abbreviation. Trump always chickens out because he'll set these deadlines and not go through with them, namely to do something called jawboning, which is, you know, you set deadlines and these things to manipulate the markets. You make the markets red, then you push the deadline back, you make the markets green, right? This one is not a taco kind of thing, all right? They legit have the tankers out there. They will be boarding ships that pay the toll. And this is just, again, more military intervention. Why? Because Israel says so. You know, so-called Jews says so over there, you know. Bibi Netanyahu, he was in the war room telling the United States, look, if you chop off the heads of the IRGC and chop off their top nuclear scientists, they will capitulate and the people will be ready for a regime change. None of that shit came to fruition. You know, so now you're there. Now you stuck. You know, now you want out of that situation. Okay? Now you want out of the situation, but you can't get out of it because now you're going to look weak. And the way things are looking, it looks like the so-called Democrats are going to get back control, all right, after the midterms. And the Democrats, so-called Democrats, are no different. That's why I don't understand these people. Don't they know that the Republicans historically are the one that don't go to war? That's how come when George Bush did it, they came up with the term neoconservative. So I don't know why they think it'll be any different if any other politician was in that seat. They're going to do what the bankers want to be done. You know? That's what Epstein was about. Epstein wasn't about controlling politicians. Epstein was about controlling the donors. You control the donors, you control who the fuck is in office, man. Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 6, it says, shall not all these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. That's debt. All right, that thick clay is debt. America is surrounded by debt. You have good debt, bad debt. You know, you have to know how to use it in this society. But really, what this place really needs is a jubilee. You see, the Lord, first of all, borrowing is not a sin, but interest. Interest is a sin. Putting, well, interest upon your own nation. You know, you could put interest, you could do usury and all that to the other nations, fuck them, but your own people, you're not supposed to be lending to a brother. You're like, all right, here's $100, I'm gonna need 105 back. You could do that with the other nations, you see, but that's what's creating most of the problems in the world. Most of these people in the United States are just swimming in debt. And the Lord said, look, you'd have a year of jubilee, you know, where you release from all your debts. You see, if they had something like that set up here in America, all right, for individuals, a relief, and it doesn't hurt your credit score or nothing like that, a lot more shit would be better. You know, a lot more spending would be that would boost the economy, if you will. You know, imagine Trump said, look, we're gonna wipe out all federal debt, or we're gonna wipe out all particular debt. You know, people will go crazy. People will start spending like crazy. You know, put themselves right back in debt, but it'll so-called boost the economy. But also not that. Not only that though, it will take a lot of stress off people. A lot of people are stressed the fuck out because their overhead is so tight. Because the price of things are going up, but their wages are not keeping up with inflation. You know, so they borrow. And they borrow and then when that runs out, they borrow again. And now you have people in holes and jams. Okay, and if you don't want to get in the hole, guess what? You have to live beyond your means. Okay? You got people that are millionaires that live in paycheck to paycheck. It says, Salakia, verse 7. Shall they not rise up suddenly, that shall bite thee, and awake, that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them? So, and I had Obadiah, the book of Obadiah. These nations are going to come against America, man. All right? The ones that are allied with America, they're going to come against America. All right? We're seeing the birth of sedition amongst the government. Okay? These things will be fulfilled. The scriptures will be fulfilled. When you read about when you read in 2 Ezra, the 15th chapter, and it speaks about sedition, all right, which is a rumor of an uproar against the government, these things are going to come to pass. You're seeing it. You know, this is how come we don't see scoffers anymore like that. One, they lost steam, but two, what can you scoff about? Okay, the things that you're seeing right now in Iran, the RFID microchip, all these things that are in play, how can you scoff? You know, you can't be like, yo, that shit ain't, it's happening. You know? And all you scoffers, all you gainsayers, all you fucking niggas that didn't gave up on this thing, all right, went back in the world, the Most High is gonna fucking destroy all of you, man. All right? And I pray our brothers out, we on them chariots and giving praises to the Lord when he do so. And that nuclear hellfire from the blessed missiles. It says, 8, because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee. Yeah. Spoil many nations because of men's blood and for the violence of the land of the city and of all that dwell therein. So payback, man. Payback's going to be a bitch. You know, and right now, nations are low-key with Iran. Nations are low-key with Russia and China. People are just, you know, some people don't want to overly commit. They want to see how things play out. But according to the scriptures, man, the Most High is going to put something in the head of whoever's leading Russia, whether it's Putin or they kill him and put somebody else in there that's just with it. All right, to just say, look, to hell with being diplomatic. Let loose our arsenals, man. Let the arrows fly. You know? That's what's going to happen. With that, I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem HaKodash, the belongs to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone with true well. Salutation to the hopeful elect out there, you Akim to the Dakim, that do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. Shalom.